I didn't really have a cold open for this episode, but I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that recently subbed to the YouTube channel. We also got I saw a little bit of a bump in the podcast, but it was mostly to subscribing to the YouTube channel. And that last episode got a lot of views compared to our previous episodes. That didn't mention Fedora. For some reason, if we mention Fedora, those episodes blow up. But if we're not talking about Fedora, we have to post it on the Reddit to get any views. But I want to say thank you to all those people. So I've been nervous to post it there. Like, I don't know about you, but like I do this thing where like I want to start a podcast and like I'm like, oh man, I want to promote this thing. I want people to listen to it. But then once I get to the point where it's actually promoting and I know people are going to listen to it, I start getting nervous, you know? And so I've been I've bbeen nervous to post it on Reddit, and I don't really know why, but I feel like we've been working hard to put this thing out, and you know, it's just time to either like, you know, post it, let people like criticize it, or you know, we should just stop doing it, or just admit that we're only doing this because we enjoy doing it and we don't actually want people to listen to it. Hello and welcome to Crowbar Kernel Panic, the podcast at the intersection of Linux and gaming. This is episode 14 of the podcast. And this episode we're not live streaming because I'm worried that I'm going to wake my son up any minute now. He's just in the other room and we've been struggling all week. But we are recording this and we will be posting it on YouTube at the Crowbar Kernel Panic YouTube channel. You can send us an email at crowbarkernelpanic@pm.me, or you can join us on Discord. There's a link in the show notes to the Mintcast Discord where we hang out in the Linux gaming channel. I don't know. There's been lots of talk in the Linux gaming channel recently of the remake for Dead Space. They're remaking the original Dead Space game.
Yeah. Yep.
That looks really cool. You know, I just picked up all the Dead Space series in a Steam summer sale, and I installed the first one using Proton, and it was a unique experience because it was like a game that was so old that even if you were installing it on Windows, you would probably run into certain resolution issues. Only that's kind of amplified by the fact that we're running it under this compatibility layer on Linux. But yeah, I'm totally excited for the new one, and maybe it'll come out in it'll probably be Proton compatible. That's probably what it'll be. It'll be
most likely.
Yeah, that's most likely what it'll be. No reason for them to actually make it like Linux available. It'll probably just be Proton. Yeah. But anyway, I said in the cold open that we wanted to thank everybody that joined the show from the subreddit, the Linux gaming subreddit post. And we got some suggestions there, and I wanted to kind of like bounce them off of you and see how you feel about them, because I think there's some good ideas in this, and I understand where they're coming from. The main thing that was like a recurring comment from several people was that they basically jumped on because they saw a link on Reddit that said something specifically about games. Linux native games, because I titled the subreddit post that way. The title of the episode was titled that way, and so they clicked on it expecting that. It's completely understandable, but that's not really how we do the podcast. Like the podcast, we kind of banter for the first half, and then we get into like a specific topic. Yep. And I think that's perfect for a podcast, a podcatcher. Like when I listen to podcasts, that's what I expect to hear, but I think it might have been misleading based on the title, and I don't remember the exact wording, but I think the way I titled it actually on Reddit is what made it so misleading.
Right.
But it did spark up the conversation of like, do we segment out portions of the show enough? Like if you were listening to the show, would it be the stream of consciousness all the way through, or is it like kind of broken up into like, you know, that this is sort of the weekly wanderings kind of opening of the show, and then that leads into whatever the like deep segment of it is. I mean, I understand that there needs to be some sort of delineation there, or do you even agree with that assumption?
Yeah, I think definitely Well, from what I've heard and know is that most people listen to the first like minute
Yeah.
or 2 minutes, and they decide if they're gonna keep listening or watching based on that 2 minutes. So if we say, you know, if we talk about nothing but Linux native games for the first 2 minutes, then they're gonna probably stay and stick around.
Yeah.
If we don't, then they're not. Um,
That's a
so
good
like
point. Yeah.
right, and not to say to like be like, oh, the cold open is gonna be just 2 minutes of talking about the topic, and then we go
Yeah.
off into banter. No, I wouldn't want to do that because then that's really misleading. Because then
Yeah.
they're like invested, and then they're like, what, So I think that definitely the first things that we should talk about are what is based, what the topic is about. I think because
Yeah.
then it kind of keeps people in, and then they don't feel like they wasted their time waiting to get to the point where they are listening or get to the point where we're talking about the thing that they want to listen to. Then at least they can be there for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes, however long we talk about it. And then if we start going off into stuff, they can,
Yeah.
get off. They won't if they don't want to watch the rest.
And not every episode has like a deep topic like that. Although we had kind of done that
Right.
like in a row there because we saw the Fedora video work so well that we kind of tried to recreate that by like picking other OSs to cover. And we did follow this same sequence where we would kind of open the show and talk about whatever we wanted to, and then eventually get to the OS that we were reviewing. One thing we did do differently though is that we broke that into 2 videos a lot of times. So I would do like one video that was like the whole podcast.
Yeah.
But then I would do another video that was like, this is just specifically the distro review. And I think that worked great for YouTube. But I think it's one of those things where like I feel like podcasting is like really branching out into the YouTube space right now. There's a lot of YouTubers that are starting podcasts. YouTubers that I used to follow for their videos are now doing podcasts, and I really enjoy their podcasts more than I like their old videos. And so
I think a podcast can be more in depth, even though it doesn't got video. Because a lot of times these YouTubers, they do 10, 15, 20-minute videos when they could really do an hour-long podcast of the same thing and get way more content in.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think splitting it up makes a lot of sense specifically for YouTube. So, I think that maybe going forward, should we still post the full uncut version? Like, should there still be like a full podcast video and then also a separate video that is just the like specific section? What do you think about that?
If it's not like too hard, maybe you should do that for YouTube, segment it out, and then for the for podcatchers, just do the whole thing.
Yeah.
But we'll try to cater to the fact that whatever the title of the video is going to be what we talk about first.
Yeah. And, I have kind of felt, I'll be honest with you, I've kind of felt guilty about how we title some of the episodes because I am trying to get clicks, And if we were doing only a podcast and there was no YouTube element to it at all, I wouldn't care what the title is because the title doesn't usually attract people, in the same way that it does for a podcast that it does for YouTube. So for YouTube, you're going to get suggested something based on the title. You're going to get suggested something based on the content, and then you need to see the title to click on it. Whereas like in a podcast, you just subscribe to the podcast that you like, and it's mostly personality driven, where you like this show because you like those people. And so you don't care what the title is. You're going to tune in every week. And so I think that the fact that we are doing this, for YouTube as well as a podcast, it has kind of changed my mentality of like, well, what should I title this that will kind of get, more attention or more clicks? And I think that was also something that kind of led to the confusion.
Well,
about
and that's
that.
more important when we're new and we need to get the viewers, and we don't know how to do that
true.
than spend money or send something to someone who is bigger than us.
Yeah.
Other than that, how do you do it? And that's how you do it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not saying that we planned it that way because we really didn't. I know you didn't. We just it kind of happened, and I think we definitely should change it up.
It feels like we're talking about some like weird scandal or something. Like everybody seemed to really like the video, and we got more subscribers or something. But I personally, so I feel like I've been doing podcasting for a long time, and am kind of like I like to be like quirky and artsy in how I do podcasts. I don't like doing a show where it's just like, okay, this and then now this, and then now this.
Like a news show, fine. That's good with
Yeah.
a news show. But like for what we want to do and just kind of
Right.
talk about what we like, you don't want to be like that.
And so
That's boring.
I'm really trying to find a way to like translate that concept, like where it's a freeform, show where it's personality driven and we can talk, but yet we have this like common interest and like
right.
common goal of promoting Linux gaming.
Right.
And so, it's like I'm in this weird weird place where I'm trying to balance that. But so based on the comments that we got last week, one thing that was pointed out was that we should do timestamps. So for sure, I've already got timestamps on that past episode, and I'll do it on future episodes.
That's definitely nice. I always like timestamps.
I thought it was harder than it is. I thought it was harder than just typing it. You literally just type in the time, and like YouTube's smart enough to figure out that you're referring to a time within the video. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it makes sense because what else could it like 99% of the time that's what it's going to be if you type in a time and then something beside it. YouTube's just smart enough to figure that out. So I don't know why I thought it was going to be like some kind of like I had to put an HTML or some kind of weird tag or something, but no, it's just you just type in the number and it's good.
That's super nice.
So from now on, we'll definitely do timestamps. I don't think it's a bad idea for us also to break off specific segments into their own videos. I think that's a good idea. And those should probably have the clickbaity titles. Like the intention of those is to try to draw those, people in. And maybe the podcast episodes are just called episode yada yada, episode 14, episode 15, episode 16. Maybe that's less confusing. I'm not sure what the answer is there, but I'm probably not going to break up this episode. I mean, I'm going to do what we just discussed, but I'm probably not going to break up this particular episode just because I'm going to be rushing to get it posted before I leave to go visit my dad. But I want to say thank you to everybody that subscribed. We went from like 30 subscribers to 60, which like I know we're small potatoes. We only got 60 subscribers, but be honest with you, we have 0 social media. We have not bought any advertising or posted hardly anywhere. We've basically only done that one Reddit post as our like big promotion, So we're not doing terrible. But I did say I made a promise in I think 2 episodes ago that if we got to 50 subscribers, I would use i3 Window Manager for a month. And if you're watching the video right now, you could probably tell that my desktop looks a little different than it used to. And that's because it's not GNOME, it's not Cinnamon, but it is i3WM, and I'll probably use it for more than a month because I'm spending some time away from home on vacation for a little bit. I'll be back, and then so I'll try to make it so that actual days used equals 30 days. Like I'll try to use it for,
right. Gotcha.
I won't be like, oh, I'll use it for a month and then go on vacation for a week. Like I'll
and use it for like 2 days.
Right. I'll try to actually use it for 30 days. So, I can say so far, I don't hate it. I'm already kind of getting used to it. I don't love it. I think you need to explain how you did it. Not only are you using i3, but yeah, that's a good point. So this is actually Pop! OS with i3WM, which has to be a really rare combination. There can't be many people running.
I'm pretty sure you're the only one.
But the reason that came to be is because I needed I needed to edit some podcasts and I needed to post some stuff, but I also wanted to go ahead and try out i3 and begin that ticker. And so I thought, well, I'll just reinstall everything. It won't take that long. But then I started thinking about, but then I'm going to have to do this and I'm going to have to do that. And I started getting the audio. So in all of our previous reviews, I complained about how none of those operating systems liked my USB audio device.
Right, yeah.
I think it was GNOME. The whole time because I started having the problem on Pop! OS. And I just couldn't believe that an Ubuntu-based distro, I mean, it's it's not an obscure distro at all.
Yeah.
People have really adopted Pop. It's known for having a certain level
And they
of
pretty much
stability.
keep everything that Ubuntu
Yeah.
does. They don't like really do anything except for their desktop on top of it.
Right. And I was just thinking, like, it works perfectly on Linux Mint. And like, when it comes to Pulse Audio, how different really is Linux Mint to Pop OS? Like, why am I running into this same issue again?
Right, yeah.
Like, I totally got it on Fedora. They're using Pipewire, some experimental nonsense. But like,
right.
we're just talking about Pulse Audio. Like, there's no way that I'm really running into this exact issue again. And so I was thinking, I wonder if it's GNOME. I wonder if it's got something to do with the way GNOME is handling this somehow. And I am not smart enough to tell you how. I have no idea. But that was one of the reasons why I said, you know what? I'm not going to change anything except for I'm going to go ahead and switch to i3. And I don't have the problem on i3. And I can't tell you what it is. I don't know
still
why.
on Pop and everything. So it obviously isn't something to do with the guts of Pop OS.
Right. and the only thing I can say is that, like, whenever you open the the audio settings, your Pavu control or whatever, or actually GNOME is not even using that. I don't know what it is, but whenever you open those settings, when you open those GNOME settings and you go to sound, I would have nothing there. Like where it normally says your like sound card or whatever for input,
so
and then what you're
like
using
it's
for
not
output,
even plugged in.
There's nothing at all there, and I have to reboot my computer to get to it. And when I reboot my computer, of course, it's using my like native onboard sound, and I switch it to the USB device, and that's like a 50-50. Like maybe it will detect it, and then maybe it will just have nothing, and I'll have to reboot again and try it again. But on i3, I had to install Pavu Control, but I just I right click to launch this thing, and then I can change it to whatever I want under configuration, and that works every single time. It's never failed. And so I don't know.
Go.
And that kind of reflects on my review of Fedora, because that was like the only thing keeping me from using Fedora. So maybe if I were to use some other spin of Fedora other than GNOME, I might like it.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, honestly, that was my negative review. I think I mentioned that in every distro review, and it could have been that all along.
Yep.
That's so wild.
It's just the bane of being a Linux user. It's just that one thing that doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like
everything else is beautiful in that one thing.
Who knew? But yeah, so I'm on i3. I'm actually enjoying it. I'm not loving it, but I'm enjoying it. I'm still kind of at the point where I'm learning more about it as the more I use it.
Learning curve is still there.
Oh yeah. Before we got on the show, I was like, I have no idea. I have literally no idea how to resize this window. We need to resize the window that we have the camera shots in. I need to resize that. And I could not tell you for the life of me how to do that. I had to Google it.
See, when now I have to Google or search for how to resize my window.
Right, yeah.
Then I know I don't want that.
Yeah, it seems like a little bit much, right? Yeah. So that's where I'm at. It's like I'm enjoying learning about it, and I like the tweakiness of it. I like that I can like adjust so many things. But then there's
the nice thing about the window managers is you can kind of like tweak it to how you exactly want it.
Yeah, I really liked OpenBox back in the day. But yeah, there's the other part of me that's going, but how much time are you spending learning how to resize your window that you could be spending editing another podcast or making another post on Reddit, or you know what I mean? Like I'm like, what else could I be doing other than Googling how to resize my window right now? Seem productive. And they call it like they say Windows Manager is like the most productive, but like I'm not seeing it, people. You've got to convince me. I'm not seeing it so far. Fun, yes. Productive, I'm jury's still out. I don't know. I don't know if I believe it.
All I can say about tiling window managers is I don't have it set to on Pop OS because it's annoying as crap. I can't stand it.
Yeah, the like pop tiling thing is like it's supposed to be like best of both worlds. I don't know. I kind of buy into. I'm not into the tiling aspect of. I'll tell you my favorite thing about i3. if I were to tell you one thing I actually do like about it so far, is like it's impossible to alt tab. So if I have a game running in Proton, I don't know if this way for everybody, but for me, if I have something running in Proton, it takes up, like, my mouse cannot leave that monitor. Like, whatever window space my Proton screen is taking up, my mouse can't leave it. And so,
okay, so if you have it, like, it's almost like if you have two monitors and you have it full screened on one,
Yep.
you can't leave that thing, but it's within the window, actually.
right.
Oh, that's interesting.
Is your Proton's not this way?
No. If I have it windowed, it does not do that.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So when I play Final Fantasy 14, on my left monitor, I have to alt tab to take that out of focus.
If I have it full screened on my one monitor, on my right monitor, I can't go over to the other one. But if I have it in a window, then it will allow me, unless I'm like, if it doesn't have a mouse like in the game, like if there's a mouse that you can go around and click things, then I can go out of it. But if there's not, if it's like Skyrim where there's no mouse cursor within the game, other than if you hit exit escape, to get out, then
like Elder Scrolls Online. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just Final Fantasy now. I don't know. I'm doubting myself now. I'm not sure. I thought it was every Proton game. Maybe it's just Final Fantasy. But so normally I would just alt tab and then make whatever, I usually have YouTube on the other screen. So I'm changing videos or whatever, and then alt tab back into the game. Well, sometimes that crashes things or that makes things screwy, right? So
right.
And you could actually do this in, I'm sure you could still do this. You could send it to another workspace in other distributions, but on a i3 window manager, it's just really easy to just say, okay, I want Final Fantasy to be on workspace 3, and I want my YouTube to be on workspace 2. And if I ever need to make a change in YouTube, instead of alt tabbing, I just use the hotkey to switch to workspace 1, which still leaves up workspace 2 on my other monitor. That makes sense? And
that makes sense.
And maybe that's not new to i3. I don't know. I should try it on the GNOME session and see if it's the same. But I never needed to figure that out until I started using i3 anyway.
Yeah, I never even tried that. So that's actually very intriguing. I'll have to try that as well.
So whether that's a feature or I don't know, but that's one thing I like about it. Because it's like Final Fantasy never alt tabbed. Final Fantasy's still running. It's just on another screen somewhere.
That's interesting.
In the abyss, and then I just have to switch back to it. So how's your week been? What have you been doing?
Oh, my week has been kind of crazy because it's been raining here like mad.
Oh yeah.
It's flooding right now, so bad.
Yeah, we have it here too. Oh man.
That hurricane hit us, so that's basically what's going on right now.
Yeah.
But other than that, I have been lubing and ringing my keyboard.
You've been over there lubing and ringing. Okay. Tell me more. Tell me more about this.
If you don't know what that is, it's when you take your keyboard and you take your keycaps off your keyboard and you put little O-rings on the bottoms of the keycaps so that they squish against and they don't make that clack.
Okay.
That clacking sound. And then you get some lube. Super lube, in my case, that's what I use. Get a paintbrush because I don't want to desolder every single switch. And you take the little fine paintbrush, it's like a little tiny like this.
Yeah.
And then you stick it inside of the switch with the lube on it, and it makes a huge difference. My keys don't make a sound now.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I didn't get them all done yet. Only got like 12 keys done because I haven't had the time. But the keys that I've gotten done, they're silent.
You do all the vowels, the keys that...
Yeah. Every other key is loud.
So what kind... So you don't want no click in your keyboard? No clicking?
I have Cherry MX Reds. So they're just linear straight down.
Yeah.
And the thing right now is they make such a loud noise when I'm typing because they bottom out and they hit the hit the aluminum, and with the O-ring on it, it doesn't bottom out on that aluminum, and then with the lube, it keeps it when it comes back up. It doesn't hit against the top, because you can't put an O-ring there. You just have to put some of the lube, and the lube sits between the actuator and the aluminum, housing. So yeah, it's basically silent with the ones I got done. So I gotta keep going on that though.
I have reds on my keyboard at work, and I've had that keyboard forever. That's my favorite, I think. Before that, I had, I gave it away. I had, I guess they were cherries or something. They were really clicky, and
they're probably blues, right?
Yeah, maybe so. It wasn't like a nice keyboard. It was like the cheapest mechanical keyboard I could order on Amazon at the time. I think it was like a $40-$50 keyboard.
You could have Gatorons on too.
Maybe. And then my keyboard that I have now is a Steel Series, and the one that I have reds on is also Steel Series, but this one actually is some kind of hybrid. This is not mechanical keys. It's like a hybrid mechanical something membrane key or something.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've heard of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I'd try it. I like the way it feels. I don't know that it. If I try it, it doesn't feel as nice as my keyboard at work. But I actually type more at work than I do at home, so that's kind of why I made that switch.
Yeah.
But that's cool. Do you think you could be the type of person that actually like builds your own keyboard?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. They're just so expensive.
I know.
That's the only reason. Like this keyboard was expensive for me, and I paid like I don't know what it was, 130 some bucks for it. But this was like 10 years ago. This keyboard's old, and I'm just getting to doing this now. I've been dealing with it for that long.
Wow. Yeah, no, nice keyboards, man. It's hard to come by one that, like, I used to have this like Fatality keyboard that had these like flat chiclet keys.
Fatality.
Yeah, I know. It was like chiclet keys like you see on a like a Lenovo laptop, but like back in the IBM days, like whenever IBM had those,
they're a little
awesome,
deeper.
Yeah, and I had a desktop keyboard that was like that, and it was like a compact keyboard, but it still had the numpad. And it just, I don't know.
Oh, I've seen those. I have seen those on Amazon. They look so nice. Yeah, mine's a full keyboard right now, and it takes up so much space. I would like to get a smaller one, but I don't want to spend the money right now.
That was my favorite keyboard, was that one. And it was like, they quit making it, and me and another friend of mine, we loved it. We both had the same keyboard, and we loved it so much that when we heard they quit making it, we like ordered extras, because we were like, as ours breaks, we'll just replace them. And sure enough, I went through 2 replacements, and then now you can't get the thing. It was my favorite keyboard. But then my second favorite is that Steel Series I'm talking about at work. But a guy I know that so whenever I transitioned to a new role at work, the guy that replaced me, he came in and he had this fancy keyboard with like, it's the spirally cord that plugs up, separate, plugs up on the keyboard and plugs into your PC, and like he had built it himself and everything. And I was just like, dude, that thing is so sick, man. I could see myself getting into that too. But yeah, you're right. It's like it's completely too expensive.
Yeah.
I bet there's the people that actually like make the special keys and stuff. Like they make their own.
Oh yeah, freaking like they like 3D print like Klingon and crap.
Yeah, that's so
on the
wild.
keys.
So I have been a DJ of my house. I mentioned at the start of the show that like I've been dealing with trying to get my son to go to bed. I don't know why, just all of a sudden, like overnight, everything changed. Just something just clicked with him where he just didn't want to go to bed. He doesn't want to sleep in his room. He acts scared sometimes. I mean, it's just like literally, we never had any issues putting this kid to bed, and then just overnight one night, it just flipped. I don't know. And now we're like, every night we're having to like, go through a routine and make sure he's tired, and then put him to bed. Stay in there until he falls asleep. Like it's this whole thing, and I'm sure he'll grow out of it. It's just a phase. But part of what we did to make him feel comfortable in his room again was I went and bought some Hughes light bulbs. You and I were talking about it off the stream, smart lights and stuff. Yeah. And so I don't have anything automated yet. I haven't figured out quite, like we don't have them on such a schedule that I can automate it. So I'm having to actually manually do it with my phone. And so we're going through this process of like at 7 o'clock, I have it at like 90%, lit. And then, and it's on a certain color, and then once we're done with bath time and we're getting ready to go in his room and start playing with puzzles and Legos and stuff, then I start creeping it down to 80%, and I change the tone to a little bit more blues and purples, and then as it keeps progressing throughout the night, I'm just getting lower and lower and lower until finally he goes to sleep at like 5%, or like when it's really low.
That's actually that's not a bad idea at all. That's really cool.
So I feel like I'm this weird DJ where it's like based on the mood of the house. I'm over here just like adjusting the lights in the living room, adjusting the lights in the bedroom. I feel like I'm great. And and also we've had the Nest thermostats for a long time too. But that's another thing, is I think he's getting hot at night and waking up. But then if he gets too cold, he wakes up. So then throughout the night, I'm also like adjusting, like, okay, well, if I make the downstairs 73 and I make the upstairs 70, and then I turn the fan on for 15 minutes every hour, I'm going through this like weird routine, just trying to adjust everything, every automated smart product in the house. I'm trying to adjust.
Oh man, that sounds, dude. Once you automate this though, it's great. I love having my automation stuff set up.
Yeah, what do you have set up? What kind of automation you got?
I got like lights, and the lights you have and stuff, and definitely my office light in right in here where I'm at. I have that set to come on at like 5. It's not a fancy bulb, it's just an on-off switch. It's actually a plug that you plug into the outlet.
Yeah.
And I just have it coming on at like, I don't know, 5:30 or something like that, because once the time changes, that's about when it gets dark out. I don't change that. I just leave it like that, and then I have it go off at like maybe like 1 or 2 in the morning every day. And if I stay up too late, that tells me that you're up too late. Get the heck to bed.
That's one of the things I'm trying to do. So right now I don't have any kind of like home automation kit or anything. I'm basically just using one of the ladies in the tube, and what I want to happen is, so my son has an alarm clock that doesn't make noise. It actually has a light on it, so it's like yellow at night, and then it lights up green whenever it's time for him to get up and get out of bed. And he knows, and he does pretty good at this actually. Like he'll sit in his bed and play until it turns green, and then he'll get up. And so the hue light in his room, I was thinking if I made it change to green at the same time that his alarm goes off, that'd be like an extra cue. But what I really want is but what I really want to do is set it so that it changes those gradual downs, starting at 7 and then 7:30 and then 8 and then 8:30. But it's just not right now. I don't even know if he's asleep right now. Whenever we started the podcast, my wife was still doing it. I'm not confident that he's on his schedule that good yet. So we're still kind of manually doing it, but things are pretty quiet. So I think he's made it through. And this is a good sign too, because I was scared to podcast while he was trying to go to sleep.
Yeah, definitely. I would be worried about that.
I've been podcasting in the room next to him like his whole life. It could be that when I take a break from podcasting, he can't sleep. So maybe that's what it is. I'm not podcasting enough.
Maybe that's it. It could be.
But because of all that, I haven't been doing much gaming. Playing around with i3 on Pop, and the only gaming I've been doing is Final Fantasy, which I talked about earlier. Last week I talked about how I was trying to get the owl mount in Albion. Well, I got the mount, and now I don't even log in. I'm totally over the game. I'll wait for another cool mount to come out, but until that happens, I'm kind of done.
That's great. Oh man. Oh, got the mount. Ditching the game.
Right,
it's
exactly.
Fine.
What games you been playing this week?
Well, actually, off air, I said that if we got to 50 subs, that I would only game on Linux for a whole month. And yeah, I know it's a Linux gaming podcast. I should be doing it anyway. Blah blah blah. But I have one game, Skyrim, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
Yeah.
That it is a pain in the neck to mod on Linux, and I've tried Mod Organizer. I've tried Vortex, which is another modding tool. And the problem with Vortex is, well, one, it's Electron, and two, you'd think if it was Electron, it would be native to Linux, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's not. You got to freaking go into Lutris and install it that way. And the problem with that is it's such an old version of it that it doesn't work. It's not even worth trying. It's like literally on 0.17 in there, and it's on like 3 dot whatever. It's like years old.
Well,
so then
I'm curious about this. All right, so we said we were going to do a whole innards episode one day about modding Skyrim on Linux. I didn't think it would be this hard. I kind of pictured it like,
well, you know what?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be this hard, because you know what? I've seen so many people that have told me that, oh, it's super easy because they use Mod Organizer, and that's what I was going to say. There is a pretty much up to date. It's got a couple of dot releases back of Mod Organizer on Lutris, and you're supposed to be able to just install it with Lutris, and it works, and it's fine. And I got to do that once. And then I can't remember what happened. I should have wrote it down. Something happened, and I had to reinstall it. And every time now, it will not reinstall. It gets to a point, and then the whole thing crashes, and there's no log or anything why it crashes. So maybe if I were to have gotten it the first time, maybe it would have worked, and I wouldn't have any issue. But I don't know, because this is the best thing about that is if I get this to work, if I get it to install and everything, all I have to do is copy over my folder from Mod Organizer from Windows right to Linux.
Yeah.
And boom, it'll be done. I have all my mods. I won't have to worry about screwing around with it.
So here's my question. I've never done this. I've I've only ever played Skyrim on Windows when it was still a new game, and I haven't done any modding or anything like that. I picture it kind of like add-ons for MMOs, where you can either use Minion or you can use Curse, or there used to be the one everybody used. Like, you can use different things, but you can also just manually put the files, like, because on Linux I don't use any of those things. I just manually extract, the folder to the appropriate place. That's not the way modding works, though, right?
Okay, so basically what happens with modding is you'll go on to well, there's other sites, but I use the Skyrim Nexus, and that's the website you go to. You download the mod you want. It gives you a zip or 7-zip or whatever file, and then you can put that file into the Mod Organizer, and it will place it in the correct area where it needs to place it in the game when you install it.
Okay.
When you install the mod. Now you can do that, or you can link your Nexus account to Mod Organizer, and it'll download it and install it for you. You can do it all within Mod Organizer, but I always do it manually. But see, now it's not as easy as, say, like a add-on to a game, because you just buy it and then you download it and it installs. No, you have to know what order to put these mods in, because they overwrite other mods. Like, let's say you have a mod that makes the texture of a chair look better, and then you have another mod that makes the mesh of that texture look better. Well, if you put the texture, the mesh first, and then the texture, the mesh is going to get overwritten by the texture of the chair. I'm probably screwing this up, but that's basically kind of what happens.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. So if you have 5 mods that do the same thing and they overwrite each one, some of those are going to be redundant, and you're going to have crashes and other things, and that's just a very basic, explanation of it, because there's mods that freaking add animations to the game. There's mods that change up the way it runs. I mean, it's crazy, and those mods can really screw your game up to the point where, it's not playable.
When you first started telling me about the different mods you were into, I watched some videos, and I saw there's even mods that's like basically taken Skyrim and just made another game. It's not even the same game.
Yep. That I've actually not played. Well, one of those mods I've played, but the other one, one of the bigger ones, I haven't played, and that one I want to do eventually. But so
while you were explaining that, it did click with me the difference. So whenever you're installing an add-on for Elder Scrolls or World of Warcraft or something like that, you're just changing your interface. You're not actually changing the game. Whereas like a mod to Skyrim, you're actually changing,
this is like loading
itself.
textures or literally loading another character into the game. It's very in depth, and it's not like something very easy to just jump right in and be like, oh, I'm just gonna do this casually. No, I mean, my wife does this too on Windows. Well, I do it on Windows mostly too, but we've spent weeks trying to get her game to work, and we tried to do it exactly how mine is, but her computer doesn't work. Isn't as powerful as mine because it's a laptop. So it really brought the frames down to like 15 frames per second in some areas, and that's just unacceptable. So we had to get rid of some mods. But now hers is not. There's just things that are happening, errors that are happening with hers that aren't happening with mine, even though I have the same mods. So it's like it's very fickle. It's not like you're gonna have a what do you want to call it? A comparative experience, computer to computer.
That's interesting.
It's almost an art, really. It really is. It's not. It's not easy.
I want to try it. I want to just want to have the experience of it, especially on Linux, and see how it works.
Once you get it working, it's amazing. That's all I can say about that.
I don't even know if I still have, because back whenever I played Skyrim, I don't even think I had it on Steam. So I'll probably have to actually buy the game again. But it's like always on sale.
Yeah, it is. It's on sale a lot.
And you have in the show notes here that you're wanting to get into Valheim again?
Yeah, I do, especially since I want to do this, no Windows gaming thing.
Oh yeah.
I want to get back into Valheim because that's one of my favorite Linux native games that I want to play more. Like even though last week we did our whole, Linux gaming and I had other ones at the top, I think Valheim is something that's so fresh enough that I haven't played ever before that I could really get into if I really tried. I just got to have the time and the desire, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think I kind of want to play it some more too. One aspect of the game that we really didn't utilize, but I hear people talk about, is the fact that you can like play locally on your PC and still carry things, your one character,
whatever's in your inventory.
Yeah, can join some other server somewhere. Yeah.
Carries over, yep.
And so you can kind of have like a community server where you're doing things together, but yet you're also have your own setup where you're building resources and you're kind of preparing, for whatever it is you're going to do on this
slowly drain the people's resources on the server and just
bring
them over to yours.
Yeah, I kind of want to try it again too. I'm kind of with you, and right now, I would say I'm kind of bored with the stuff I'm playing. Like I'm basically only playing Final Fantasy right now because I don't know what else to play, and it's just kind of the one I always go back to. And it's like unbelievably huge right now. Like I can't go.
Yeah.
All the major cities are like I get like 20 frames per second because there's just like so many people. I like it is unbelievable. I've never seen FF this populated, but yeah. So I'm kind of only playing it out of boredom. I'm really not that interested in it. Maybe I'll give Valheim another shot too. It's a really great Linux native game. We talked about it in our thing last week, but it's really cool that it became so popular, and it just happens to be like, it wasn't like, the selling point of the game was not like, hey, we're totally available for SteamOS and Linux, but it just happened to be that way.
Yep.
Yeah, I might dive into it a little bit too. It's also a very relaxing game, and then maybe that's what I need after a day full of DJing my house for my kid. I need some relaxing Valheim time.
All right, Crowbar and chill. It's Valheim and chill.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let's do some news topics, and then I think we'll get out of here, and we'll wrap this thing up. I picked out some kind of fun stories here, and totally was not looking at these while I was supposed to be working. Let's see. All right, I gotta do the I3 thing here. All right, so move this, move this. We shouldn't have to look up this time. And then move us to 3. Perfect. All right. So indie game Selaco pushes the original Doom's tech to a whole new level. This is an article by TechSpot, but it's covering a game that is actually using the I think it's 93, 94. It's using the original
93.
It's using the original Doom engine to render this game. And if you look at, let me play some of this video, but I gotta mute it. Like if you watch the game, this does not look like something that's made on an engine from 93. I mean, there's definitely like some pixelation, and you can tell that you're looking at animated sprites and things. But it's done in a stylized way that the game looks beautiful. Like it looks really cool. And there's something about watching the motion of the way the guns like reload, and like this whole system, this whole Doom system that they have, like it's just so reminiscent for me. Like it just takes me back to whenever I played Doom 2, and these games were just
it's like it looks good, but you can tell there's just some
what is the word I'm looking for? Yeah, like there's something I can't seem to pinpoint, but there's like there's just this way of playing this game that just feels so different than even playing like modern Doom. That is like a spiritual successor to this.
Yeah, that's like a really good example is when he cocks the gun.
Yeah,
that slow like animation, like that choppy kind of animation. That's like, yeah, that's Doom right there. You can't, like, if you saw that, it didn't matter what the game looks like. You just know that's Doom.
It's so unbelievably nostalgic, man. It's really cool. There's there's a couple games like this. I remember whenever they did the they recently did the it wasn't the summer sale. It was one of those indie sale things they did on Steam, and one of the games on there, I can't think of the name, but it was just like really like dark. It was like Graven. So Graven is another game that I kind of think fits into this same category where it's like this like nostalgic first person game. Graven's not even really a first person shooter. It's like a first person RPG, but they're doing this kind of like where it's like really 90s classic looking. There's another one that's really popular. I can't think of the name of, but there's a few games that fit this category. But just based on this video clip in this article, I feel like this one is unique in that it like hits it just right. Like to me, I love Graven. I'm not criticizing it. I want to stream that game, but like to me, this game looks like it is going to feel like you're playing like a modern 90s Doom. It looks really cool, and it's gonna be SteamOS and Linux native, so you won't have to run it on any sort of emulation like you do with Graven.
Cool.
Graven, you have to run on Proton. This is going to be straight up Linux native, which, being built on that engine, I would be surprised if it turned out that it wasn't. I mean, it seems like that ought to be compatible with like anything. You got to be able to run this on your Samsung fridge, Another really cool story is we have Garry's mods very own Garry
Garry's back.
He is actually going to be helping with the EAC issue. So we got a comment on one of our recent videos asking us about did we think that the Steam Deck was going to push Valve to finally fix the issues with EAC running on Proton. And I remember, I don't know if I said this on the show or if it was just behind the scenes you and I were talking about it, but I remember saying, like, I don't understand. I play Counter-Strike all the time, and I'm not limited to non-EAC servers. I've never realized that this was an issue, but I'm a complete fool. I was playing the Linux native version of Counter-Strike, where EAC does work. This issue is specific to Proton.
Right, yep.
So Garry Newman, the founder of Face Punch Studios, creator of Garry's Mod and Rust, he's actually working on this problem is going to help resolve the issue prior to, well, I'm assuming prior to the release of the Steam Deck. But
that's what they're aiming for.
Yeah, and this is one of those good things where it's like, because the Steam Deck is kind of pushing this topic, it will all benefit from it.
Definitely.
There's an interesting quote in this PC Gamer article, but it's our goal is for every game to work by the time we ship the Steam Deck, says Eric Peterson, who is a Steam Deck developer. Our goal is for every game to work by the time we ship Steam Deck. Now, do they mean every game on Steam to work for the Steam Deck?
I don't. I hope he didn't trip over his words and was just like overzealous about it. But the way it makes it sound, that's what he's saying. I mean, that's their goal. That's not.
Yeah.
It says our goal, not
Right.
we are going to. It says our goal. So I think what he's doing is setting the bar high so that they really get on it and they get a lot of games done. I don't think they're going to be able to get everyone, because how can they?
Maybe they're talking about maybe this is specifically talking about every game and that uses EAC. Maybe they're trying to fix EAC for every game that uses it. I'm trying
maybe so.
I'm trying to kind of like reread through the article because this question just popped in my head as I was reading it. But anyway, so it goes on to say, we are constantly building on Proton, and there's a lot of work that has been done that doesn't yet affect the public version of Proton. So, which, I mean, of course, they're developing things now that we've not seen yet in the public Proton, but just based on this statement, I feel like they're like really addressing a lot of things behind the scenes that we've not seen yet as Proton Linux desktop users, including testing of thousands of games, engaging with third parties like anti-cheat providers, work targeting game compatibility, and more. So, I mean, I think this article, for one thing, Garry's Mod is amazing, and Garry Newman seems like a really cool guy as far as I know. Garry's Mod is a lot of fun. If you've never played it, it's basically like, I mean, it's like so many games rolled into one because people can just build like what they want and then host it, and you can join other people's servers, and you know, it's just this like mayhem using the Valve's engine, the source engine. But yeah, this is a topic that has been on a lot of people's minds. We've seen it in comments, and it looks like they're going to be resolving that. But also, in addition to that, it seems like this is another example of how the Steam Deck is going to be pushing better support, you know, for Proton in the future.
Well, one thing I don't understand about the anti-cheat stuff is why is it even a problem for Proton users? Like I don't understand. Like I get the whole like, you know, cheating thing and all that, but why is Proton being called out for it? Like, is it because you're running Linux and you're trying to you're trying to translate it into the Windows calls, or is it just because they don't want it to work? Like, if that's the case, if they just don't want it to work and they're just saying, no, you can't do this, then this isn't going to work because they're just going to block it somehow. Unless they find a way to disguise it.
Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you story time, okay? I don't remember what expansion it was, but I remember back whenever one of the WoW expansions came out early on. Whatever the one after Wrath of the Lich King was. I don't even remember. Cataclysm. I remember when Cataclysm came out, it was like the first time I ever experienced wait lines trying to log in to my server. So like the game had just blown up overnight and was all of a sudden so popular that you couldn't log in because everybody's trying out this new expansion. And it was so bad that it was taking like hours to log in. Like it was taking like absurd amounts of time to log in. And so I had this idea. I said, you know what? What if I just never log out? What if I log my game in and then I set up a bot to just press a key, you know, move my character a little bit. He'll jump every once in a while, just enough so that I don't get logged out. And so I use like a macro, you know, scheduler, and I scheduled a macro to keep me moving just enough to not get logged out. But then I started thinking, and I was just getting a little too creative here. I probably should have just left it at that. I would have been fine. But then I started thinking, well, is there some way that I can do this but make it look even more like someone is at the keyboard? Like what if they could respond to messages? If someone sent me a message, could I respond back? Well, anyway, I kept trying all this. I kept trying all these things to just, and all I'm trying to do. The funny thing is like what I'm trying to, like I was breaking the terms of service. Like I deserved what was coming to me because there was a consequence to this.
No.
But like I wasn't doing it maliciously. I wasn't trying to steal anybody's gold or like, do anything. It was strictly just because I didn't want to wait the queue times, which is malicious because I'm logged into the game. Some other guy in Alaska can't log in, right? So anyway, I got found out. They saw that there was a program running at the same time as the game or whatever. I don't know how they figured this out, but they saw that I was somehow trying to cheat the system, and I got banned for 72 hours. And I remember, just as a side note, I was so addicted to WoW at that time. That was like I remember that ban. It was like
a death sentence.
Yeah, it felt like I just didn't know what to do with myself for 72 hours. Like I remember talking to my girlfriend about it. I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? She's probably thinking like, I don't know, spend time with me, like what am I going to do? But anyway, so they just saw that I was doing something malicious or not malicious. They just saw that there was something that I was running on my PC, something I was doing that was somehow trying to hide something from them or manipulate the game in some way. And it was just, I'm sure that a human didn't even look at it and make a decision. It was just like an automatic, because I'm telling you, I remember I turned on like this one particular program, and I don't remember enough about it, what it was now, but it was like a macro program or something that was going to like listen for the responses that people sent me, and then it was going to send a message back. And it was like immediately when that thing started running, I couldn't even like move my character. I was immediately kicked from the server.
Ooh,
and
wow.
That's probably something similar to what's happening here. Is EAC, in order to protect the players from like wall hacks and aim bots and all these sorts of things,
right,
they're just already looking for any sort of program that could be like trying to obfuscate or manipulate the game in some way,
yeah,
or manipulate their ability to view what you're doing on your end. And
right, yeah.
Proton probably it may just kind of look like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now that makes sense to me. Now that you describe that, I can totally see that being an issue.
Yeah. Like last week when I was trying to play Bless Unleashed and it never would let me log in, it was probably because of Proton. Bless Unleashed probably thought that the way I was running the game under, with this other layer of software between me and the server, it probably saw that as something malicious and wasn't letting me log in. And
right,
so that's
right.
the types of problems that, they're running into. It's unintentional, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They're not just like, we hate Linux users and we're not going to let them. They're a bunch of cheaters. They're a bunch of, they got.
Well, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it that way when I said it.
I know.
But I meant like in the way where they don't know what you're doing, so they're just banning it because they don't know what you're doing. That's what I meant. Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Is they don't know why there's this strange compatibility layer, but while you're running the game, they're like, hey, we're not taking any chances,
Right, exactly. We're not taking any chances.
We'll ban and ask questions later.
Can you sue for having someone have an aimbot and you lose in a game? Is that like a thing?
I'm sure that has been done before, but I don't know that it was done successfully, but I'm sure that has been done. So the next story we have is we're 1%, baby, 1%.
Yeah.
Woo! So this is on Phoronix, the classic. Phoronix has been around forever. So I didn't realize that we had lost ground, but apparently at one point, Linux market share. This is for the survey that Steam asks you. Sometimes there's a thing that pops up and just asks you, do you want to participate?
Which I've never gotten in my entire life.
Really? I've gotten it so many times.
I've never gotten a Steam survey. Never, not once. Wow. And I've been on Steam for freaking how long? I don't know, 12 years? More than that?
I've gotten it so many times, but it's I've gotten it so many times, and I always fill it out if I'm on Linux. I always fill it out because I want to contribute to this percentage. But
there's a way, like if you dual boot, there's a way to, if you get it on Windows, to somehow save it, log out of Windows, go into Linux, and then it still pops up. Like I forget who, some podcast was talking about it, and I'm like, yes, if that ever happens to me, I'm so doing that.
Well, apparently we were at one time at 2%, and then it gradually dropped. So, but that was one thing that the Phronix article points out, is that was actually during a time period where Steam had a lot fewer users, and it was whenever they had just launched for Linux.
Right.
In that window of time, we were at 2%. But as Steam grew and got more users, of course, the overwhelming majority of those users were Windows.
Percentage, yeah. It'll move around.
So for the last 3 years or so, we actually were below 1%, and then we, as of July, we actually we hit 1% finally. So I don't know.
I think there was a trifecta when this happened, because the Windows 11 was announced at that time, and they're not allowing you to use, they backed out on that, which I predicted. But anyway, they weren't going to allow you to use your old PCs for that. Then the Steam Deck was released, and all that all that stuff that was happening. So it was like all these things happened at once, and I think we gained that much because of people trying to figure out where Linux is in the gaming market, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think right now is a really interesting time for the Linux gaming market because of Proton and because of Steam Deck. But Proton is just getting so good that I mean, I know it depends on what games you play, and everything I play is available on Steam. So there is that too. If you're trying to play Magic the Gathering Arena, it's not available on Steam. It's available on Lutris, and it works really good. But there's plenty of games out there that maybe don't. But I think Proton is just getting so good that I just think more and more people are migrating to that. I would much rather buy a game on Steam than anywhere else just because of Proton. But I'm also not the target of this. I've been a Linux gamer for a long time, and that's not gonna I'm not. The idea is what makes it better so that Windows users switch to Linux.
Right.
And maybe we're not quite there. We're not there yet. There's not even. We're not even.
I don't think we're there.
Yeah,
yet.
We're not there. Yeah. But I think we're showing. I think we're showing progress, and I think that my question is, what do you think? What do you think Windows 11 will? Do you think that will push this percentage up or down?
Okay, so if they wouldn't have gone back on saying that you can't use a computer without a TPM2 chip, which is just a security feature, if they didn't go back on that and say, oh, Windows 11 is going to work on everything, I would have said yes, it was going to push people to go to Linux. But now they're just allowing anybody to use Windows 11, and it's not going to matter. So yeah, gotcha. I don't think it's gonna make a difference. I think people are just gonna go from Windows 10 to 11 and not care, or buy a new PC and not care.
What I would say is, if you're a Linux user out there, whether you're gaming or not, all right, so you game on Windows, you got Linux on some other computer in your house, install Steam on it. Open
every PC you have Linux on.
Install Steam on every PC that you have. It doesn't matter.
Skew the crap out of this rating.
Yeah. Yep. And if it doesn't matter if you're ever going to play a game on it, open Steam every single day. And pray that you get that survey so that you can take the survey and just increase the percentage. That's what'll get us there. That'll get us back to 2%, and then we'll be 2%, baby, 2%.
And the more percent we have, the more people will care about Linux, the more games we'll have.
Right. Exactly. Man, this is it. This is a killer idea. Convince all of your school libraries to switch to Linux.
Just go to the library, install Linux on every PC.
Install Steam on every one of them. Yep, exactly.
Steam big picture mode every time it boots up. No one would have any idea what to do. It'd be great.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Steam Deck might skew the number in a positive direction.
I think that's going to really skew not skew it. I think it's actually going to raise it up in a legitimate way.
Yeah.
And it's going to be. I might even predict 3% when Steam Deck comes out. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's a lot. But I mean, this thing has been pre-ordered like crazy. So I don't know.
I wonder how popular the Steam Deck really is, though. I mean, it's.
I know. I'm trying not to get too.
I don't want to be,
but I am.
I feel like it's. I feel like it's really, really popular, but I also am like so absorbed in this community. I feel like I might have a skewed opinion on it.
Linus
I know.
said such good things about it. Like when he says something good about stuff.
Yeah.
If he wouldn't have said anything about it, if he would have just ignored this thing,
Yeah.
I don't even know if it would have sold out. Or I shouldn't say sold out, but I don't think it would have even got like the traction. At least I should say.
I mentioned this to I was playing D&D a few nights ago with some people you know, and I mentioned the Steam Deck to a friend of mine, and she said, let's see, how did she word it? She said, I said, dude, I'm so excited. I said I pre-ordered the Steam Deck, like I'm so excited about it, and she was like, oh, I know. But they have such a bad reputation on their hardware they release. I just don't think it's going to be any good. And I don't. She might be crazy. Yeah. She might not be representative of any percentage of.
You know what?
The people
it's
out there,
funny.
But
it's funny you mentioned that because that is the exact reason why I did not pre-order it. Because I am actually afraid of the hardware. I want to see version 2 before I actually get one.
That's exactly what she said. And it does seem too good to be true, you know? But man, I'm going to ride that. I'm going to ride that faith train.
I feel like such a hypocrite now.
I'm going to ride that faith train all the way off the cliff, baby. I'm all the way on board. All the way.
You know why I kind of, I mean, if I had the money, if I definitely had the money and I wasn't worried about money, I would have pre-ordered the most expensive one. No, hands down. Only for the fact that if it doesn't happen to work as a gaming machine, it would be a nice retro gaming machine. It'd be a nice computer in general just to have.
Yeah.
But like the real reason why I didn't pre-order is because I don't want to get the cheapest one because I'm kind of afraid of that 64 gig storage, and I just don't have the money for the more expensive ones. So that's really the reason.
You know, another thing,
money would have been done.
Another thing is I don't necessarily know that she means that she thinks that the product will be bad as far as like not working, but that I think she's comparing it to the the Steam boxes that they just never really got the support to keep it alive. Like there was just it seemed like once it started failing, they were just like, okay, we'll try something
kind of like
else.
Google, kill everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's more along the lines of what she's saying she's worried about. But for the reason you just said, I think these things are popular even just as
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic retro gaming device.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. No lie. That's good. Now the only thing I can say against what you said before is if you look at all of the failed products that Steam had and you add them all up, it equals to the Steam Deck. You know what I'm saying? Like the controller, the trackpads, they got all that figured out there. They got the Steam OS. That's all figured out in the software. All these failed things, these little things lead up to the Steam Deck. It's the weirdest thing if you look over their time period of all the hardware they've had.
That's
other
a good
than
point.
Like the Valve Index. Even the Index though, because you know what? They have that accelerometer tracking that you can turn the thing. Like all of it equals to the Steam. Like it's almost like they had this like 10-year plan and they were just like,
this is the Magnum Opus. This is the this is Valve's Donda right here. This is Valve's Donda.
Oh man. Oh, that should be the title.
Valve's Donda. All right. So this has been a good episode. You'll have to explain this last article for me. I didn't look into this yet. It sounds cool though.
No, so no, I just wanted to add that Halo Infinite was definitely released, or not released, but is announced, I should say.
Yeah.
And it has a release date for this year. I think it's December sometime, I believe. I didn't look exactly, but I'm wondering now if it's going to run on Linux because of the Steam Deck, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's going to run on Linux for the campaign, no doubt, because all of the Halos now run on Linux, the campaign fine. But the online multiplayer is the problem. That doesn't work through Proton because of the anti-cheat.
Yeah. Gary's got your back, bro.
I'm curious if the Steam Deck is going to change that for Halo Infinite.
Gary's got your back. Gary's going to fix that problem.
It's funny because I didn't read that your other post, and I posted this for that same reason. It kind of worked out perfectly.
Yeah, no, if they don't solve any other problem, I feel like they're gonna solve that problem between now.
Yeah.
And then if nothing else, they'll solve it for the Steam Deck. And then
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I have this other link here. It's actually what do you call it? Like a forum post on the official Halo website about Proton and Linux gaming. So if you care about that, go there and maybe post and get some traction on this thing. I don't know. Maybe it'll help. I don't know. I doubt it. I highly doubt it, but do it anyway.
No, I think they're working on that. I think that just like they were saying in that article, once they're trying to fix this in such a way that it will fix it for other anti-cheat programs.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of programs use the actual EAC itself.
Yeah, that's what Halo uses.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'll fix it for that. They'll fix it. I would bet money they're gonna fix it. Gary's got your back. Yeah. Gary's got it, bro.
Gary's got your back. Now that should be the
title. All right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Probably a more structured show with a more specific topic. But I hope you enjoyed this one. Peace.
See you.